Hey everybody, Fun Stampers Journey Coach Janice Whiting here, and in this video I'm going to show you one of my favorite products in our new catalog, and I just had it, our new catalog. You probably have already seen my video where I showcase every single one of these beautiful pages in here, and yes, see those tabs? Those are just, that is the first run through of me going through, and I'm obviously in trouble because I love so much of what's in this catalog. But at our coaches convention, we had the opportunity to purchase some of these products, and I'm here to showcase, like I said, one of my favorite products that we have in there. So can you guess what it is? Stamps? There's many, but no. Dies? Lots of those, but no. Actually, we have a brand new coloring system to the Fun Stampers Journey product line. And actually, there's, I think, 3 new coloring systems to our line. But this one in particular, I just kind of went goo goo gaga for. So are you ready? This is our Pastels coloring system. So I don't know if you've heard about Pastel, but it is actually a super saturated, super soft pastel in a pan. So I'm going to show you some projects I've made with these and talk a little bit more about them and talk about the different color options that you now have, and of course price point, and then of course when they will be available. So let me go ahead and start off with a couple of cards that I made. Here's one, and I'll go more in depth when I change the camera view, but here's first card I made. Okay, and card number 2, little guy. All right, so I'm going to change the camera view and give you some tips, techniques, and show you about how amazing these guys are. All right. All right, so what I have here is the page in our brand new catalog that showcases all of our pastel colors and sets. Aren't they beautiful? Oh, I love them. Okay, so this one here is our Confectionery Days pastels. As you can see, they're a lot lighter colors. Then we have Rich Sorbet pastels. We have Party Pop and Mother Nature. We also have a really fun set of 3, I say 3, they're not sets, they're individuals that you can buy, but we have the silver, the gold, and the blender, the colorless blender, which we'll talk about more of these individually a little bit later. And then we sell a applicator and sponge kit, okay? The brand is Soft with 2 F's, excuse me, and like I said, it's an 8-piece set of different sponges and the applicator tool that I will showcase here in a minute. So for today, we are going to be using the Mother Nature pastel set. So let me go ahead and get that out. So they come like this, okay, in this clear packaging, and you take this top tray out or off. There we go. And you'll notice right away that one of them has a lid and the rest do not. And the reason for that is if you take each set and you want to store them more compactly, you can basically screw them onto each other and then just right underneath. So there would be no need for individual lids if you're stacking them like a tower. So that's kind of a good, fun little thing that they do. And just for the purposes of today, and actually I don't think I'm going to use the brown, so I'll leave the lid back on. They also come with 3 empty sections, so I guess you can buy, like I said, the colorless blender, the golds, and the silver. That can also kind of go in here if you'd like. And I think that's really all to be said about the containers themselves. So why don't we go ahead and get started with some techniques. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and grab a little bit of this blue, and show you how, because they're so well saturated with pigment, it does not require very much to get you a nice dark bright color. Okay, so this is that blue, beautiful blue, and I'm using one of the sponges that comes with the kit. It's really nice and dense sponge specifically made for pan pastels. Something to know about these is that they are very low dust. You will have a little bit of dust, but nothing compared to chalk pastels. And as you can see here, I was trying to give a little ombre effect. I was going up dark here and then just a very light touch towards the bottom to give you that dark to light range. So that's kind of fun. Something else is that they are, because they are an oil-based pastel, they blend so beautifully. I mean, just gorgeous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe off some of this blue on a paper towel, and she recommends having a paper towel with you to wipe off excess color. And then I'm going to go ahead and dip into this green, and you can see that there's virtually no color contamination there. So I'm going to put that there. That's one of the wonderful things and characteristics about these pan pastels, is that they do not contaminate. They kind of lay on top of the color. So here I am. I'm coming and I'm blending these two colors. And if you could feel these, they are so fluid and beautiful. They're really, really extremely soft. And if you could, like I said, when you feel it and when you use it, it's almost like paint. And people have described it like that before. And it's really hard to imagine what that means until you get them. And then when you get them and play with them, you're like, oh, I see what they're talking about. So anyway, there's that. Another thing that they talked about is that you could actually blend colors directly on the pan or in the pans themselves. So let's say I wanted to maybe mix the green, this light green, with this dark green. Get them both on there, and then make my own color. Isn't that beautiful? So again, the light green, and now I'll just go with directly the light green. There's the light green. Okay, you can tell the difference there. And then I'll go and grab some of the dark green, and there's the dark green. And so I've got the light, I've got the dark, and then the color in the middle that I made by mixing the two. So very fun, very neat to play with. Now, what does this mean for you, especially you paper crafters, who you might be thinking to yourself, I'm not an artiste. I'm not going to go out there and paint these, beautiful masterpieces with with pastels, excuse me. But, and you might not. Well, you might if you get so inspired. But you can use these in your everyday cards. So here's a card that I created. And you probably can tell that in the circles, I was trying to emulate water, okay? And just the different shades and colors that water can have. And so what I did was I created a panel, and then I cut the circles out with our circle die and our piercing elements. So I wanted to kind of show you what I did and how I created that, these little pieces. Now I also colored the flower, the leaf, and believe it or not, this little saying, be happy. And I'll show you how I did that. So let me go ahead and get a blank piece of paper. And this time I'm going to use this little finger tool. And they said that they purposely created it in the shape of a finger so that it could simulate taking your finger and rubbing. Now, of course, you could use your finger. For the sake of keeping clean, we won't. So now you should know that in this, when I created this, I actually mixed some of the green and the blue. So I'm going to go ahead and try to show you how I did that. And what I did first was I grabbed this lighter blue color, And I just started creating circles. And I wanted to have like a dark in the center and a light going around it. And so you can see I've kind of saturated the center and light going around it. And you can see there's a little bit of dust there. And then again, I would grab just a little bit of a darker color, and I would go and I would do circles here. I basically just did circles all the way around. Different varying sizes. Maybe added a little bit of the green to kind of bring in just slightly different color here. Maybe bring it into the center as well. So what I'm doing right now is just creating a background that I can then use on my cards. And we can do this fairly quickly here. So I'll just do another circle here. Again, I was trying to go for dark in the center and light around the edges. Maybe do a little light here. Maybe a small circle here. Okay, and then maybe one more here on the ends. Maybe a little bit of green for this one. All right, so that's basically what I did. Now look what I've created here. I've created a background that you can then take and use for whatever you want. So what I did, like I said, was I took our circle die and our piercing die, and I cut out this shape here, these 3 circles, straight out of a panel that looked like this. And you can kind of see where the different values of color are there. Isn't that kind of fun? Very fun. All right, so that's one background that you can do. Now something else that you can do is actually color your image. All right, so I've stamped one of our dahlia flowers from our Dahlia Burst stamp set. And I'm going to use one of the tools that comes with your Pan Pastels and this little itty bitty little sponge that slides right on. So you just kind of slide it on like a little glove here. And then basically this also acts like a little finger. So you can tell I've already used it coloring the flower that was on my card previously, this one here. So let's go ahead and look at how I colored that. Let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit, not out, and see what I did here. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of the red. And what I did was I basically started with these outer petals and I worked my way in. Now you can do whatever you'd like and color it however you'd like. I just found that to be a little bit easier as far as cleanup is concerned when I'm ready to cut out the flower, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about here in a minute. Now, because I'm only using the Mother Nature stamp set, and there really aren't any other colors I wanted to blend into the flower, which meaning by that is I could have added some yellow, some orange, I could have added pink, purple, any kind of color that would blend well with this red I could have used. Now you'll notice that I've gone out of the lines a little bit here, and that's okay. And here's why. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. As you can see, this is one of these really beautifully, highly saturated pigments. They're just gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of shading. All right. So I'm going to take, so basically to give my flower some dimension, I'm just going to use the very, very tip of my brush. When I say brush, my tool. Okay, I got a little bit of brown on there, and I'm going to go in and I'm just going to add a little bit of brown behind some of these leaves, on the bottom of these leaves, to give them, I say leaves, petals, to give them some depth and dimension. And I'm going to go back and grab a little bit more color. So this tool is pretty versatile. You can use the edges to get in some of the more fine detailed kind of places. And then you can use the flat part, obviously, to color in larger areas. So there we go. I'm just giving it a little bit of depth, a little bit of dimension. Basically, I'm making it a little bit more 3D, or at least we're trying to give it a little bit of that effect anyway. A little bit of brown in there. All right. So I'm going to leave that alone for a little bit. I'm going to wipe off some of that brown. And basically now I could go back and if I wanted to with a different color up here, but I think I'll just color and I'll leave my tips kind of light. And maybe I'll come out on purpose for here. Let's say I went out, you know, oops, I went off out of the lines. No big deal. So here's the crazy thing, guys. The crazy thing is that you can erase with these, you can erase these. Like you make a mistake, no big deal. Now, we were told that you want to use like an artist grade eraser. Now, I can't find my artist grade eraser, so I basically just used what I had. I did have a pencil with a white eraser, and it worked just fine. So you want to clean up your edges? No problem. Grab yourself an eraser. If you've got a nice white artist grade, go for it. If you don't, then see if what you have works, because what I have worked just fine. And you can see how it's cleaned up those edges. I think they even said don't use a pink eraser, because I know that sometimes those pink erasers, they kind of leave a smudge. So maybe don't use those. But if you've got a white one, and if you don't, you know, they don't cost very much. You can go out and grab one. So awesome, wonderful, right? So then you could cut it out and place it onto any project, and you've got a beautiful piece. And I did the same thing with this leaf here. Colored it with the pastels, so I can get up close there. All right, okay, so we've got the background, we've got the flower, and now let's talk about how I used the pan pastels with this. Interesting. All right, so we're gonna create that sentiment, and the sentiment I use, let's see if I can zoom out just a little bit, is from our Banner Wishes stamp set. And this one has so many wonderful, super cute greetings, and this is the one I'm using here, the one that says be happy. So I've got it here on a block already, and I'm going to be using our clear pigment ink. Okay, so I'm going to fill this one up, make sure it's got a good coating of that ink, and then I'm just going to stamp anywhere here on this paper because I'm just showing you as an example. Okay, and of course you can't see it, it's clear. If you were here, you'd be able to pick it up a little bit. And now here's the most fun, wonderful thing about these, one of the most fun, wonderful things is that you can take your pastel, and after you've stamped your clear pigment ink, as you can see, you may not be able to see, but it's there, you can go over it and look at that. It's picking it up beautifully. Isn't that gorgeous? Love it! Isn't that beautiful? So, so pretty. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's great, but it's got the smudges around it. So remember mine? So what did I just tell you about this? These pastels are erasable. So all you have to do is take your pencil and erase around the edge. Now again, if you had a nice fine rectangular or square eraser, not one on the end of a pencil, although it does an okay job, then you could get in here and clear out all of that pigment and cut out your banner with a white border, as I did here on my card. So you can see lots of fun, beautiful possibilities with these pan pastels. All right, so look at these two fun samples here that I have. So this is one of our Be Amazing background stamp sets that I used and then colored. It's called Amazing Stars from our Be Amazing collection. Okay, isn't that fun? And I colored it using our pan pastels. And then look at this fun. This is one of my favorite stamp sets. And I could not wait to get coloring this when I got my hands on those pastels. So, how fun that is. Okay, and this one I believe is called our World Map background stamp. Super fun. So I wanted to show you a little bit about how I colored this in. So the first one, which I kind of go with easy first, right? Granted, they're not hard necessarily. They're just some different techniques. So with this one, I went ahead and I actually colored the land pieces, all the continents, green. So I took the lighter green and I just kind of went in and I went over the ink just so that it had a little bit of the green in there. Not too much, not overwhelming it at all. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more here. There we go. So then I'm just going to color all of it here. And notice I'm not really too concerned about the green getting in the water because I kind of want a little bit of the green in there because I think it's so pretty when you have the different color green and blue. So I'm going to wipe the sponge off on a paper towel. So always have a paper towel handy to kind of clean your sponges. And then I came back in and I actually did circular motions up to and around the continents. And it will pick up some of the green that you just laid down, and it just blends so beautifully. I just loved the results. And again, I could come back in, I could add a little bit of the darker blue if I wanted darker waters somewhere. Let's say I just wanted a little bit darker on the edges. I can come back and do that. I can come back in and pick up some more of the kind of brighter turquoisey blue. And I just fill it in, again, going in circles, and it just has this kind of effervescent kind of look. And I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera very well or not, but it is just such a fun technique, and it's so beautiful and super simple. Anyone can do it. So here's my final one again. And then let's go ahead and show you how I did these stars. Okay, so this one again, it maybe looks a little bit more difficult than it is, just because it's got a lot more coloring, but it really isn't. Okay, so with this one, what I did was I started with the centers of the stars first, and I did a combo of our darker blue and our lighter blue, and I just kind of went back and forth with these two colors and just kind of mixed and matched. And I used the shape of the tool to go from the tip of the star as I'm turning the paper to the center, and then I just kind of did circular motion to kind of blend it in really well. You can blow away any of that excess dust that may come up. And okay, so let's say I did that one, and then with the green, I kind of blended the green around the edges. And I used the lighter green, and for this particular one, I did just up and down movements just to kind of go along. I didn't want to disturb the blue too much, although I knew I wanted to have a little bit of blending of the blue and the green. Okay, that. And then once you've laid down the color, you can kind of work it in a little bit. Beautiful, right? And then clean off your tip on your paper towel. And then I went and grabbed some of this fun gray that comes in here, and I added gray to this outer edge. And it's gray, which to me is kind of like a silver, although it does not have a sheen, okay? We do have a silver, which I will do another video on our gold and silver, because some really cool techniques with those two colors. Something that Bernie was saying is that if you find that you have powder, just, you know, some excess fine dust filling up your pan, she says it is user error, and you're basically rubbing too much into the pan, and that you don't really need to rub that much. So keep that in mind. And I'm saying that as I'm looking at my sheet going, maybe I rubbed mine a little too much. Anyway, so okay, so I've got that. Now basically, if I was going to complete this all, I would color all the stars first, and then I would come back in and color the outside, this blue color, and just making sure that I don't overstep that blue, because, or that gray, excuse me, because it will color over it. We don't have to worry too much about color contamination with these pastels, because they really just kind of go over well, but they do blend well also. So then I would just come in, I'd fill in everywhere that I wanted to fill in. I think you guys kind of get the picture, okay? And so that's just part of it. And then of course, like I showed earlier, final product here. And wouldn't this be a fun background to a card as well? All right, now last but not least, I have this fun little card that I made with a very simple background using our, let's see here, I believe it's called Delightful Light. It's actually one of our brand new stamps. That's one of my favorites. We got this as a gift at convention, and I'm using it here. I love that. Isn't that fun? This long light bulb, and I love it, love it, love it. And anyway, so I created this background here using our pan pastels. So let me go ahead and show you how I did that. So this is probably the simplest of all techniques. I used our large sponge, okay, and I'm just going to make sure that this is cleaned off decently. And I basically just combined our light and our dark blue. I knew I wanted blue to kind of contrast with the yellow. And I just wanted to make a combination of both colors. So it doesn't really matter which one you start off with, because you're basically going to cover the entire panel. So I just started off and I filled it in. No real specific technique, except for I was making sure to grab the edges, because, you know, remember way back in the day when you would ink up your edges? Well, that's basically what we're doing, except for now we're chalking our edges. And you probably still do that with ink pads or your chalk inks, okay? So there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and use our dark one now. And again, this blends beautifully, so I'm just going right over this card. Side to side, circular motion. And if you want it a little bit darker, you can come back in and add some more. And then what I liked to do is I like to add a little bit of, you know, remember again, back in the day when you would color everything darker on the corners or on the edges? Same exact technique that I'm using right here to create this fun background that you could then go and use on any kind of card. So there you go. Now you may notice, I don't know if it picks up on the camera or not, but there is actually some gold sparkle on mine. So that affects the sheen or even the color of what it looks like. And that is because I used our gold silk splash, and I just did a fine mist spray. And so what I used again was this, our shimmer gold color splash. You'll notice kind of the gold there. So you shake it up a little bit, and from a really high distance, you spray it on the card. It gives it a really fun gold shimmer, which I'm thinking maybe is not picked up. Maybe right there, you can kind of see right there. So anyway, there you go. So there you have it. There are some fun techniques that you can try using our pan pastels. And this is just video number 1 of many to come. I want to show you our entire color palette, but one at a time. I love the colors in our Mother Nature set, so I wanted to start with that first. If you have any questions about them, please feel free to shoot me an email, send me a message in this video, and I will give you any information you need to know. Price, right? Everyone wants to know price. So these go for $49.95. Okay, so you get the 7 pans of color and a 5-piece tool set. So you get your 7 colors plus your soft tool, your sponge, your big sponge, your finger sponge. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then an extra sponge that fits on the tool like this. Okay, and so that basically equates to about 7 or a little less if you include the tool kit per pan. And like I said, we do only sell these in sets. So again, $49.95. So like I said, the sets are $49.95, and you get 7 colors, including the toolkit. And basically it boils down to about $7 per pan. Actually even a little less, not if you're counting the fact that you're getting your kit and your sponges as well. So anyway, and of course for if you're an FSJ fan and you've shopped with me before, then you know that for every $50 that you spend, you earn a free bloom benefit, which is a free small stamp set, or we have different things that are our bloom benefits that you can earn for free. And then of course, I probably should just go ahead and show you, we have our new bloom benefits starting in July. So there's a couple of stamp sets that are where you can earn for free a die. There's that. We have some trim, some different carved pieces, some charms. So those are all examples of our new bloom benefits. So every $50 you spend, you would get one of those. So that's great. And of course, if you put in a party order, which is an order of $150 or more, you start reaping hostess rewards, which if you just spend $150, which is the minimum for a party, you would get $20 free to go shopping, and a free ATS, which is our artist trading stamp set. That's a little bit smaller stamp set. So if you have any questions, again, please feel free to contact me. Of course, if you'd like to shop, go to www.funstampersjourney.com/Janice Whiting and shop away. And I'd be so thankful. All right, stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Bye.